Hello and welcome to Numeristical, bringing you the picks of the day for Wednesday, May 22nd. It is about 7:45 in the morning here in California. And let's start, as always, by reviewing the picks of yesterday. So, yesterday on the money lines, we had two underdogs. Nationals were a big dog, Mets a slight underdog. Nationals lost big, Mets lost by 1-7-6. So we lost both those bets on the money line. On the totals, we had one bet under 11. This was an interesting one where the model felt very strongly about under 11 because uh, the total was going up because there was a report of winds blowing out at Wrigley Field. So that was why the line moved very significantly. But didn't really end up being a huge factor. There were a couple home runs, but the game was 4-3. So the under 11 won easily. And so we won that bet. So we ended up being down just over a unit for the day, and we're down just over a unit for the year on those two models. Moving over to the spreads, we had a nice little hit here. We had the Royals -1.5 plus 195, and the Royals won convincingly. So we hit that bet, and the spreads model is now up 1.38 units for the season in rather limited number of games. But let's move on to the picks for today. So starting with the money line games, so here's the full list of games. There's actually a couple games I left off because they're being rescheduled and didn't have the right information. So after all these filters, the model is telling us to look at 3 home teams and 2 away teams. So first up, first home team it wants us to take a look at is the Cardinals. It says bet the Cardinals. They're a slight underdog, but bet them plus 129 with Pinnacle showing 126. So let's see if we can get plus 129 on the Cardinals. So here we go, and actually we see now we're only getting as good as 120. There was 127 earlier. The line's moving a little bit right now. So, but anyway, it does not look like we're going to find a bet on that one. Next up, Brewers Marlins. It says to take the Marlins if you can get plus 125. So let's take a look if we can get the Marlins plus 125. So here we are on the Marlins plus 124. Wow. We're just missing it. So again, I like to try to follow the letter of the law on these. You see the line has actually jumped around a little bit in both directions. But we're not getting 125 yet, so I'm not going to put a bet down on that. Next up, Braves and the Cubs says take the Cubs if you can get plus 127. Whoops. And so let's go to Wager Talk, see if we can find 127 on the Cubs. No, does not look like we have 127. Looks like the best we're getting is 120 over here. 122 over here, but still not 127. So no bet there. Next up, the Mets with Jose Quintana pitching. The model always seems to at least be close to betting when Jose Quintana's pitching for the Mets. It says here, though, it says bet 127 with Pinnacle showing 115, so this also might be hard to find a bet on. So 127 on the Mets. Yeah, no, and in fact, this line has moved a bit, it looks like. Yeah, wow, look, you see the Mets were plus 120, and now they're minus 102. So this has gone to being kind of a pick 'em almost. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But it does not look like we're going to find a bet on the Mets. And finally, our last chance for moneyline bet is the Astros against the Angels. Says to take the Angels if you can get 176. Angels, no 176. I see 170 here. And that's the best we're seeing. So right now it looks like we don't have any bets on the money line. If we don't have any bets at all, I'll come back and find the closest one. But for now, let's move on to the totals. Here's the full list of totals. And the first one it wants us to take a look at is an under. Wow, between the Guardians and the Mets, let's take the under. If you can get minus 113 or better, and it looks like it's showing 110, minus 110. So let's take a look. Mets Guardians under 9. Mets Guardians under 9. And yeah, it looks like we can get as good as minus 102 on DraftKings. So let's go ahead and take that. Mets Guardians under 9, minus 102. Mets Guardians under 9, minus 102. Okay. Next up, we've got the Reds and the Padres. 9.5. It's saying take the under if you can get minus 107, let's say. So 9.5. Reds Padres. It's up here. 9.5 under Reds Padres. But we're not going to get, in fact, everything's at minus 120, and some of them have moved to 9 on the under. So, so we're not going to find a bet there. Next up, Phillies Rangers. Point is 10. And they're saying bet under 10 if you can get minus 104. So let's take a look. Phillies Rangers under 10. In fact, you're barely seeing under 10 anymore. It's all gone to 9.5. So we're not going to find a bet there. But things have moved significantly. Next up, Royals Tigers. 2 aces going. It says take the over 7, but it wants better than even money, so we're probably not going to find a bet here, but let's take a look. Royals Tigers are over here. Over 7, yeah, we're not seeing anything. The best we're seeing is minus 110, so no bet there. And finally, the Rays and the Red Sox likes over 7.5. Again, one's better than even money, though, so we're kind of looking for a 7 here. Rays, Red Sox, and it's all 7.5 and all less than even money. So no other bets. So it looks like we just have the one money line. The one totals bet is the Mets Guardians under 9 at minus 102. Moving on to the spreads model. So here's the list of games that we did the spreads on. So forth, and it says take a look at 2 games. It likes the Rays minus 1.5 if you can get 148, and they're actually already showing 165. So let's see, go find a bet there. Spreads. And Boston Rays minus 1.5. We can actually get plus 170 at Circa or at South Point. So let's mark that down. So Rays minus 1.5 plus 170. Rays minus 1.5 plus 170. Oops. And finally, the Yankees minus 1.5 if you can get to 151, but showing 142. So let's take a look. The Yankees minus 1.5. Yeah, we're not getting a 151. We're getting a 141, 142. but that's the best we're getting there. So not going to find a bet there. So it looks like on spreads we have just the one bet is the Rays -1.5 plus 170. And of course the totals we have the Mets Guardians under 9 -102. So those are picks for today. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.